Hello viewers, this is Paladin of Odin, and this is some more Magic the Gathering Online. This is another episode of the Standard Commentary Series, and it looks like we've got Blue-White Spirits versus Bant Aggro. Aggro just fired off a collected company and hit 2 Thalia's Lieutenants, which is very bad news for Spirits. That means that he can attack in with 2 3/4s into a Nobilis of Frost while he's completely tapped out. Now, speaking of Nobilis of Frost, I have to admit I was expecting to see this a little bit more than hardly at all, given how powerful this creature is. Honestly, I was kind of expecting it to be, at least in some Bant Aggro decks. I mean, seriously, it is a very powerful card. 4 mana, it fits in the colors, it's a 3/3 flying prowess. And then whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, tap target creature an opponent controls and it doesn't untap. Seriously, even Bant Aggro, which is running a ton of creatures compared to other, decks, still has, instants and sorceries that they run to get that ability. And then on top of that, honestly, a 3/3 flyer for 4 is not a bad deal. But I can understand why it didn't break into Bant Aggro, mainly because it's not a human. And that's basically the big reason why it doesn't really fit. The human synergy is very strong in Bant Aggro. And throwing in a creature that doesn't fit in kind of robs you of some of your momentum. And we're talking just in the deck building phase. We're not even talking about in a game. I mean, I really like this creature. I really do. But I can understand why Bant Aggro in particular doesn't run it. Now, the other problem with trying to see this card more in Standard is there just aren't any decks that are viable for it, other than something like Spirits. And even then, Spirits really isn't a great deck. Ooh. In response to the Knight of the White Orchid, he is Essence Fluxing his Nobilis of Frost. He's going to tap down Thalia's Lieutenant. Dweller got rid of a Lambholt Pacifist. Well, now he's got a 4/4 flyer. But like I was saying, Blue-White Spirits really isn't very powerful in Standard right now. We're talking 4% of the field. It's really not a whole lot. And then about the only other decks that I can think that run blue are things like Is It Machine Gun, which arguably Nobilis of Frost would work in because of all the instances and sorceries you're playing. It's just the big problem is, there are other creatures that they could be playing. Thunderbreak Regent, same converted mana cost. Honestly, I would rather have a Thunderbreak than a Nobilis of Frost in my Is It Machine Gun deck, but, if I could fit both of them, I would. And then the only other ones I can think of are Emerge decks, and they don't need Nobilis of Frost at all. So enough about this card. It's just disappointing that it doesn't see enough play when it's as powerful as it is. Reflector Mage. What is he going to get rid of? He's going after the Inspector. Honestly, I can see why he went for the Inspector. Big deal. When it comes back, he gets a clue token, and it's just a 1/2. But honestly, I would have been tempted to get rid of the Thalia's Lieutenant. Because while, yes, it comes into play and puts +1/+1 counters on, it would remove it for the next combat. And most likely, that would be enough for Bant Aggro not to attack in here. Unfortunately, Spirits really doesn't have much going for him here against Bant Aggro. They're almost on the same card count. Oh, another Essence Flux. Targeting the Nibilis of Frost again. Well, it was really the only thing he could target. If he targeted the Spell Queller, he'd get the Lambhold Pacifist back. The reason why I was a little bit confused was because when he gets exiled, he loses the +1/+1 counter already on it, so basically all he gets is to tap down another Thalia's Lieutenant, which does limit the field against him in this next combat. Bant popped a clue token, he's playing Tireless Tracker, so all he has to attack with is a 2/2 first strike, and there's no way he's going to attack into a field like this. 4/4 and 2 2/3s. So he did, Spirits did manage to buy himself another turn. But honestly, at this point, I think the only thing that could really save him here is something along the lines of removal. You know, a Stasis Snare on one of these Thalia's Lieutenants would be great. Ultimately, if he were able to play something along the lines of Planar Outburst, you know, that would be nice. He'd be able to attack in for 6 flying and then nuke the board. Unfortunately, it looks like all he has is Bygone Bishop and a Rattle Chains. So he's just throwing out all the creatures he can to try and muck up this board for Bant. The good news is Bant doesn't have trample creatures. The bad news is that whatever creatures Spirits does have, Bant's creatures will most likely eat them. But the good news is, you know, the Nibilis of Frost effect is still on, so this Lieutenant will not untap. So at best, he'll have 3 creatures to attack in with. Ooh, Spirits is going all in there. That is actually quite surprising, given what is on the board right now. All it would take is something along the lines of a Dromoka's Command, and this game would be over. Pops a clue token, Tireless Tracker's now 4/3. And pops another clue token. Tireless Tracker will be a 5/4. 2 mana left open. Plays a land for a 3rd land. And 3 mana. Gets a Reflector Mage. Also an option to win this game outright. So unfortunately for Spirits, you know, he just got steamrolled. It's just what Bant Aggro does. The only real way to fight Bant Aggro is to, well, almost is to just play Bant Aggro. I mean, Spirits, the only options really available to him are things like Planar Outburst and maybe Stasis Snare and things like that to take out Bant Aggro's creatures early. So like Silk Wrap and Stasis Snare to slow him down. And then if things get out of control, you can play your Planar Outburst or Descend Upon the Sinful. But the big problem with the board clears is Spirits is also a creature deck. So when you throw down a board clear, you're losing your board as well. So unfortunately, you know, that's just the way Spirits is at the moment. Honestly, they're a step behind before the game even starts, just because of the quality of creatures Bant Aggro has versus Spirits. Now, one thing they do have going for them is the fact that almost all of their creatures are flying, and Bant doesn't have very much to be able to deal with that outside of things like Reflector Mage or Dramoka's Command or Spell Queller when they cast it. But, on the whole, they don't really have a whole lot to deal with flyers, so most of the creatures that Spirits runs are effectively unblockable. So, theoretically, if Spirits could get out in front of Bant and get in there with those flyers, he could outrace Bant. Most likely, it's not going to happen very often, just because of the ridiculous amount of synergies that the creatures Bant Aggro runs provide. But, that's just the way it is in Standard right now. The big bad is Bant Aggro, and most other decks can't beat them reliably. Well, he conceded the whole match, so I guess we'll just have to end the video here. I was actually kind of hoping to see a second game, post sideboard. I don't know what Spirits runs in the sideboard, but, he might have some tricks up his sleeve. But I guess we don't get to see that. So, that was Blue-White Spirits versus Bant Aggro, and if you liked what you saw, hit that like and subscribe button for me, and I will see you in the next video.